In our number 10 spot today, we have Katrina Gulbranson. On January 14th, 2020, a Minnesota woman named Katrina Brooke Gulbranson was reported missing by her family after they hadn't heard from her since January 8th. Her mother had reported that the last time she heard from Katrina, she was heading out on a date with someone that she had met on Tinder. She said that there was no activity on her social media accounts or on her cell phone, which is obviously very unusual and would be super frightening. Katrina also has 4 kids who obviously really needed their mom to return home. Apparently, during her disappearance, the family was sporadically in contact with someone who said that they were Katrina, but there was never any proof. Not a lot is publicly known about what happened after she went missing or where she had been, but in a very lucky and relieving turn of events, Katrina ended up making contact with her family and returning home. This is definitely the best case scenario for everyone involved, and I'm very glad that this one has a happy ending.
In our 9th spot, we have Chelsea O'Donnell. Back in 2015, comedian Rosie O'Donnell's adopted daughter went missing. She was 17 at the time and left home with just her support dog and a few other belongings. She left behind her cell phone and laptop. Family and friends had no clue where she was. But police ended up tracking her burner phone and it led them to the house of Stephen Shearer, a 25-year-old criminal. Turns out that Chelsea was hiding out in his attic. The two had met on Tinder a couple months prior to her disappearance. Police say that Chelsea left voluntarily to stay at his house. But in the end, Stephen was arrested for hiding Chelsea from the police and her family.
In our number 8 spot today, we have Sydney Loof. In 2017, a Nebraska woman named Sydney Loof went on social media to let her followers know that she was about to head out on a date. Sydney's family said that she had gone on a date with a woman that she had met on Tinder and that she had sent a Snapchat message to her friend right before the date saying that she was really excited and looking forward to her upcoming date. The next day, she didn't show up to work, and this of course set off alarm bells and made people really nervous, so they called the police. On November 15th, 2017, which was the day of the date, Sydney was seen in the rural town of Wilbur, but unfortunately, this was the last time. A few weeks after her disappearance, her body was found and identified, and the journey towards prosecution began. Both of the people who were involved in this case have since been found guilty and have been sentenced accordingly. I'm glad that Sydney's family has been able to begin receiving the justice that they deserve, although I know that no court sentence will ever be enough.
Moving on to number 7, we have the hostage. Back in 2016, a University of Kansas sorority girl was looking for love on Tinder. That's when she matched with a man named Shane Stephen Allen. The first date between the two went well. In fact, it went so well that she wanted to go on a second date with him. However, on this second date, she learned his true side. At the end of the date, the two went back to his trailer. There, he had some friends over smoking. After his friends left, Allen accused the girl of flirting with them. He got so mad that it turned physical. The girl, who wanted to keep her identity a secret, then had bruises and swelling all over her body and face. Allen then held her hostage in his trailer for 6 days. During this time, he forced her to keep in touch with her friends over Facebook to tell them that she was alright. If she tried to leave though, he would hurt her. After the bruising and swelling went down, Allen let her go, but only if she promised not to tell the police about what happened. She was finally freed after 6 horrific days, and obviously she alerted the police as to what happened to her.
In our number 6 spot today, we have Rinaldi Harley Wismanu. On September 5th, 2020, a 32-year-old man named Rinaldi began talking to someone on Tinder, and they decided to meet. They moved from Tinder to WhatsApp and planned a date for September 9th. What Rinaldi unfortunately didn't know is that he had been specifically targeted because of his successful career and the fact that he was financially well off. Rinaldi had a master's degree from Tokyo University and worked as an HR manager for a Japanese construction company. While Rinaldi thought he was speaking to a woman online, he was actually speaking to a disturbed couple that was having money problems. The couple had set up a plan to lure Rinaldi and rob him, but unfortunately they also took his life. They ended up stealing his money and spending it on gold, laptops, a watch, and a motorbike, but they were of course caught for their terrible crime. The police were able to track them by using Rinaldi's bank account transaction history. Since this was so recent, there have been charges laid, but this case has not been officially concluded, although the pair is facing the possibility of a death sentence for their crimes. It is so horrible that Rinaldi ended up in this situation, and I hope his family sees the justice that they deserved served quickly so that they can begin their healing process.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Amber Garrison. In July of 2019, a 26-year-old named Amber Garrison matched with James Smith. After speaking with him for a couple of days, they decided to meet up. The meeting was consensual. They both agreed that he would pick her up at a truck stop in Pennsylvania. But upon doing so, he held her captive for 6 weeks. A couple of weeks went by and her mother began to worry. She was used to not seeing her daughter for a couple of weeks, but then she learned that no one was in contact with her. On August 9th, that's when she was finally reported missing. But then in mid-August, it was declared that she wasn't missing anymore when her mom received a Facebook message from her. Finally, on August 31st, Amber was able to call the cops. Thankfully, Amber was found and Smith was charged with first-degree kidnapping along with a number of other offenses.
In our number 4 spot today, we have Grace Millane. Grace was a 22-year-old woman from Wickford, which is just south of Essex. She had just graduated from the University of Lincoln with a degree in advertising and marketing and was taking a well-deserved year off to travel and enjoy the world before diving into her new career. Grace was traveling in Auckland, New Zealand on December 1st, 2019, when she set up a Tinder date with a man. There is a lot of surveillance footage that follows the pair throughout their date, and Grace even texted a friend saying, "I click with him so well." The man also commented on one of Grace's Facebook photos that night saying, "Beautiful, very radiant." There was footage released of the pair entering the hotel the man was staying at. It shows them entering the elevator and exiting on the floor he was staying on, but this is the last time Grace was seen. The following day was December 2nd, which was Grace's 22nd birthday, and her friends and family began to get worried when she didn't respond to any birthday messages. Her family quickly reported her missing, and the police sprang into action looking for Grace, hoping for a positive outcome. Unfortunately, a week after her Tinder date and disappearance, Grace's body was found. The man she had been on a date with quickly became the #1 suspect, and he has recently been found guilty of the charges brought against him. I can't imagine the pain that Grace's family was put through, but I hope that they have been able to remember all of the wonderful memories that Grace brought into their lives.
And at number 3, we have Dushyant Sharma. Now, it's not uncommon for people to lie on social media. People do it all the time. But for Dushyant Sharma, his lies ended up being the cause of his death. So Sharma faked being rich in order to get girls on Tinder. That's when he matched with Priya, a 27-year-old woman who wanted Sharma for his money. After talking and hanging out, she started to demand money from him. When he refused to do so, Priya and her friends kidnapped and then killed Sharma. After kidnapping him, they stole his ATM card and then demanded ransom from his father. Once they received the money, they strangled him to death and then up his body.
In our number 2 spot today, we have Michaela Norris. On December 17th, 2017, Michaela Norris was leaving her hostess job at a barbecue restaurant in Overland Park, Kansas, before she headed to Independence. Around 10 p.m. this night, Michaela was on the phone with her best friend Bailey, who she told she was meeting up with a friend, but never said who. The next day when Bailey didn't hear from Michaela, she rightfully began to worry, and when Michaela's family contacted Bailey to see if she had heard from her, they really knew that something was wrong. They filed a missing persons report, and an investigation began. Michaela had gone out with a man that she had met on Tinder, but unfortunately, this man had other plans. The man she met had devised a plan in order to steal Michaela's car to carry out his ultimate plan of harming his ex-girlfriend, who had left him due to domestic. Just 3 days after her reported disappearance, the man she had met with ended up taking his own life in the car that he had stolen from her, but just before this, he posted on Facebook the approximate location of where Michaela's body could be found. It is extremely tragic that 2 lives were lost in this event, and I hope that both of their families have been able to begin to heal.
And in our number 1 spot, we have Francia Ibarra. On December 3rd, 2016, 26-year-old Francia Ibarra went missing. That day, she was supposed to meet up with friends at the movies. When she didn't, the friends were worried and contacted the police. But they did some investigating of their own. Through social media, they discovered that Francia was talking to a guy she met on Tinder, Emmanuel Valdez. When police went over to his apartment, they discovered a bag of human bones on his balcony. The bones belonged to Francia. Apparently, Emmanuel had killed his Tinder date and dissolved her body in acid after she refused to perform certain acts with him. A DNA sample confirmed that the remains did belong to Francia, and on top of that, her clothes were found hidden in his apartment.
Starting us off at number 10 is the first date. Now remember, psychopaths may display antisocial behavior, but they can be extremely charming and manipulative. They're also not stupid. They're not gonna come off creepy or reveal their true intentions within the first few conversations. They're gonna wait, like a lion stalking and learning about their prey. They will get to know you, act genuinely interested in you, but the real red flag will be your first meeting. Now I don't care how long you've been talking to this person on Tinder or if the conversation has moved to Snapchat or Instagram, your first date should still be in a public place. Never go to a secluded location for your first meeting with anyone, because you really can't trust anyone on the internet. If your Tinder match is really insisting on meeting at their house, for example, or in the park at night, or at the beach at night, don't do it. When they get you alone, you are in their hands and they're in complete control, and that's just gonna tempt them to do something they shouldn't. So first psychopathic red flag is a forceful, lonesome first date. Coming in at number 9 are partnered profiles. If you've never used Tinder, then you'd be surprised at how common couple profiles actually are. It's usually a couple trying to spice up their sex life, or people in open relationships, or a couple who are polyamorous. Not gonna lie, I've been propositioned a few times, and although it's a compliment, I'm a bit of a selfish lover and I don't like to share. On the other hand, there are also people on the app who are already in relationships but are looking to cheat. Either way, scientists have found that a lot of taken people use the app to cheat, and 1 in 5 of those cheaters possess psychopathic traits. Out of a 1,500 person survey of people who use the app, 300 people were in committed relationships and had already cheated on their partner and wanted to go back for more after promising to stay monogamous. Partnered Tinder users have higher scores in traits like neuroticism and psychopathy, and lower scores in traits like conscientiousness. The reason I brought this up is because a lot of people using the app who match with these people either don't know the person is in a relationship or they don't care. At the end of the day, you're on Tinder for your own reasons, I can't say anything about it, but try and stay away from partnered users. A, they're cheating, so screw them. B, it's just not good news. At number 8 we have ego boosts. Yes, Tinder is a huge ego boost. When those matches are rolling in, you're like, yeah, I'm hot shit. But don't be fooled, a lot of people absentmindedly just keep swiping right on everyone. You're not special. You're just one of the— no, I'm kidding. You probably are. Now, even normal people need ego boosts, not just psychopaths, but what is one of the major building blocks of a psychopath? Narcissism. And if that narcissism gets thrown back in their face, they do not react well. This one's a bit harder to pick up on, but if someone starts messaging you and you're not really feeling it for whatever reason and are kind of blowing them off, a psychopath will tend to get quite angry, petty, and aggressive. How could you possibly not want them? Their mentality is, oh, you're lucky you even matched with me. Normal people would either just not respond to you, rejecting them or leaving them on red, or will just ask you straight up or take the hint. Psychos will just start bombarding you with hateful messages and take it as a huge personal offense, so if your match is doing that, man's is a psychopath. Filling at number 7 slot is no escape. Well, according to a study published in the Journal of Individual Differences, everyone that uses Tinder is a psychopath. Which, I mean, ouch. 271 people participated in a survey, and girls and guys on the app alike exhibit the dark triad traits, aka Machiavellianism, meaning using manipulation to get your way, narcissism, and of course psychopathy. Tinder users are more likely to engage in risky behavior related to their health and have no real disgust towards sexual situations. Their distinct personality traits are characterized by a lack of empathy, exploitation, manipulation, and emotional coldness. This article sort of implies that all Tinder users are like that, but so many of my friends have gotten Tinder just for the ego boost, like they don't actually use it, they just like it. And dating has changed over the years. We as a social media generation don't think it's that shady talking to someone online for a while before meeting them just like that. Usually you stalk the person or at least follow them on their other social media profiles, and if they check out there, then people usually just go forward with the date. Now at number 6 is everything you want. I was the biggest hopeless romantic growing up. My life plan was to find my Prince Charming, get engaged by 22, 23, and married by 26. Can you imagine that? I'm about to be 23 in a few weeks. Do I look engaged to you? Movies are a sham and no one is gonna be every single thing you wanted and just perfect in every way. And if they somehow are and you found them on Tinder, please think twice. Psychopaths are chameleons, just like in the movie Dirty John. They will mold into exactly what you want. They'll mirror your hopes and dreams and form a loving, strong bond with you that will be entirely fake. Psychopaths also drop the L-bomb relatively quicker, and you're probably thinking, what is quick? This one guy told me he loved me after 2 weeks of knowing me. That, my friend, is quick. Psychos will overwhelm you with love and affection to make you drop your guard, so if your Tinder conversations or dates with this one person are seemingly too good to be true, chances are it is. Coming in at number 5 is victim mentality. Psychopaths will try and play the victim and always tell a story in a way that makes things seem like it wasn't their fault. They will forever blame other people and can never take responsibility for their own actions. So is the person you match with constantly blaming their ex and the whole world for their problems and how they can never just find a nice person to be with? Do they play the victim to the point of actually being annoying? That person could very well be a psychopath trying to get you to lower your guard around them so you think they're easily controlled or screwed over. They'll make you think you're the one that wears the pants, but you are most definitely not. Do not be mistaken. At number 4 are liars. Psychopaths are compulsive lies. It's literally the air that they breathe. They lie about shit that doesn't even need to be lied about just because they can and because it makes them feel good. One of the easiest telltales that someone is lying to you is when they give way too much detail about something. The more detail someone gives, the more real they're trying to make their answer seem by adding all these details and embellishments, when really, if someone asks you a question, you answer it briefly. Like, if someone asks me what I had for dinner last night, I'm more likely to say, oh, chicken and vegetables, instead of telling you how exactly I marinated the chicken, what exact vegetables I ate, and the fact I ordered some bubble tea afterwards and it came exactly at 9:43 p.m. See, it just seems a little sus, because it is. Be wary of people on the app that are too open and forthcoming, because chances are they're lying to you and enjoying it. Psychopaths, my friend. Filling at number 3 slot is you. Tinder is a place where psychopaths frequent. 1 in every 4 or 5 users is a psychopath, and considering 1% of the world's population is psychopathic, that's a large portion of them using this app. But I digress. Psychopaths know exactly what they're doing and know exactly who they're targeting. You think this is their first rodeo? You dumb as hell then. They've done this in real life many times, and Tinder just exposes them to a lot more people and makes the whole process easier. Psychopaths know what kind of people are easy targets and more susceptible to their manipulation, so they look for those signs in you. If you're soft-hearted and compassionate, they're more likely to go for you, and if they view you as damaged goods, meaning you were hurt by your ex or you're on the rebound, then they'll also target you because you're extremely vulnerable, and when else would they strike? Never make yourself too available and vulnerable to anyone on the apps. Remember, people are nice, but not that nice. Now, at number 2 is your number. Tinder is like the preliminary qualifying round for anyone you talk to. If they pass, then you guys can take it to texting or Snapchat or something, but it's not like you give your number to everyone you match with, and you shouldn't. A huge tactic psychopaths use is trying to get you off the app ASAP, so they'll ask for your number pretty early on to show how eager they are. Let's not give numbers out until you've spoken to them for at least 2 weeks. After all, there is no rush, am I right? Normal people will happily wait and ask when the time is right. Psychopaths will not. And finally, at number 1 is Tinstagramming. This one happened to me quite a bit when I was on the app, and I was like, what even is going on? What the even hell is that? Now, Tinstagramming is when someone slides into your DMs after seeing your handle in your Tinder bio and failing to match with you. A psychopath will almost always ignore the one cardinal rule of Tinder by leaving the app and sliding his crazy ass into your Instagram DMs. Now, why would someone go to all that trouble of messaging you when you've already indicated you aren't interested? Psychopaths like the chase. Remember, they're like a cat on the prowl. If they can't find a common ground with your Tinder bio, they will find you on Instagram, do more research, and make their second approach. If you reject them again, they'll probably hit you with overly long paragraphs about how they're just being nice and romantic and totally not creepy. Like, okay. Stay in your lane. Starting us off at number 10 are couples. Now, honestly, no kink shaming here. I know couples are on Tinder to spice up their relationship, or they're in an open relationship, or they're polyamorous, whatever it is, it's none of my business, but it still makes me feel a bit weird that I'd be entering this like trio where 2 people are already in love and I'm just there as like some new fresh side piece, like, oh hello. And usually most of the couples I've personally seen on Tinder are really bloody weird. Most people avoid them, but some are unavoidable. For example, Reddit user Turtle_Sensei shared that she was on Tinder when she was 19 years old, and as a bisexual female, she made the app's preference show her both girls and guys. She ended up matching with this woman who offered to fly her out to Arizona to live with her and her boyfriend or husband and be their young lover, which, I mean, who doesn't want sugar parents? She obviously declined, but the couple kept creating different accounts just to ask her, and so she ended up deleting the app altogether. And good thing she did too, because a few months later she saw something in the news about a couple from Arizona that had lured a girl about the user's age to their home for what was billed as a sex dungeon. They held her there for 6 months before she was finally able to escape. Dude, like, I'm stunned. Coming in at number 9 are true colors. Honestly, sometimes it takes a few dates or weeks to really see someone's true colors. Like, I believe you don't really know someone unless you've gone to a restaurant with them, so you know how they treat the waiter. You've been with them while they're under pressure or stressed, and you've talked about politics with them. Not that that's gonna cause an argument, but you wanna know if they're the kind of person that like shoves their opinion down your throat or can listen to other people's opinions respectfully. You know, that's a big thing. Either way, 26-year-old Nikki shared some of her true color horror stories. For example, on one Tinder date, the guy kept saying a bunch of misogynistic things, thinking she was getting flattered by them. Things like calling women fresh meat and calling her wifey in the kitchen, and about how he would always beat and delete women. If you don't know what beat and delete means, like, first of all, have at least a brain cell. No, I'm kidding. It basically means obviously when you know, sleep with someone and then you delete them and you never call them back. Either way, he then said she was lucky she was on a date with him. I'm not even gonna comment on this one, you guys already know how I feel and how my blood is boiling on the inside. With another Tinder guy, Nikki truly thought it was going somewhere until he revealed his true racist colors on the 4th date. They went for dinner and their waiter happened to be black. The date then started addressing the waiter offensively, kind of implying he was superior than him, and then started talking about everything wrong with black people. Like, who are you? Who? I'm done with it. You guys know me. I'm gonna go off! Sorry. At number 8, we have getting ghosted. Let's face it, you guys, it has happened to the best of us. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You know, you end up matching with someone and you're actually getting along, the banter's there, and of course you guys match, so clearly the attraction is there too. You guys go on 1, maybe 2 dates, and then they ghost you. You are left hanging and you're not really sure what the hell happened, but you're like, okay, I guess I'll just go screw myself then and just eat ice cream and wonder why nobody loves me. I don't do that. Anyway, sometimes you're the ghostie and sometimes you're the ghoster, and not everyone handles it well. Some people get super pissed and persistent, others don't even realize they're being ghosted. Anyway, this story pertains to that and was shared by Victorious Cabaret on Reddit. She said that she went on a date with this guy and they end up at this restaurant. Turns out the guy, and I quote, had the personality of a styrofoam packing peanut. After the date, she figured she would just ghost him because they'd only gone on 2 dates and never even kissed. So she ignored his calls and texts for a week, but he wasn't gonna take this ghosting lightly. Mans showed up to her house and started hammering her buzzer and continuously calling her. What made it worse was that this guy literally did not even know her last name, didn't know where she lived, let alone her suite number, so how the hell did he even find any of that out? Creep. Filling at number 7 slot are the tweets. And I've heard this urban legend multiple times but in different variations, but it originated from this girl called Jacqueline tweeting about this encounter in a thread. Apparently she shares how her friend went on a Tinder date and caught some sexually transmitted rash from the person. Yikes. Honestly, never do anything with anyone before asking them if they've been tested. Come on now, health and safety first, people. Either way, the friend goes to the doctor and he tells her that she could have only gotten the rash from someone who's had sex with dead people. The parasite that gave her the rash can be present in a guy if he's been doing the dirty with animals or the dead. Fast forward to Jacqueline's friend doing some investigative work and finding out her date works at a morgue. I'm sure you guys can figure out the rest. 1 + 1 literally equals necrophiliac. And if you guys know Mackenzie from IO, I was actually telling her the story and she said she'd heard that story from a friend of a friend. Apparently she had gone to Mexico and she had kissed someone there and she ended up with a rash the next day, and exact same story. So really, it really is a Tinder urban legend. Where's the truth in it? Did this even really happen to anyone? I don't know. Now at number 6 is that profile. There is always that one profile that no matter how many times you swipe left for no, that continues just to plague your app. Like, mate, I've seen your profile so many times. If I wanted to match with you, I would have swiped right the first time I saw you, not the 35th time. These profiles are common in every city, so let's talk about 27-year-old Alex Hammerly from New York City. Now let's analyze Alex's profile. His kitchen has granite countertops, and in each of his photos, he's doing the exact same pose. All 6 or 7 photos feature him leaning back on the counter with one leg crossed over the other. Nice, respectable man. His face and hair and everything is identical in each picture. It's literally just the outfits that are different. He is Alex. He's 27. He's in his kitchen. He's in a nice shirt. he is seemingly a paper doll. Now the girl who noticed this decided to post it on Twitter just to see if anyone else happened to see Alex a billion times, and this girl who lives in Boston claims she saw his profile anytime she visited the city. Now most bot accounts like these are usually super hot girls that are adult webcam services or follower scams, but some are genuinely annoying real people. These people are somehow finessing the system and appearing so often. The New York Post got in touch with Alex, who said he continuously deletes and reinstalls the app so he appears at the top as a new user, and he's not the only one who does it. The repeat bot profile that isn't a bot. Urban legend cracked and confirmed. Coming in at number 5 is the pervert. I could kill the boy involved in the story, but of course I won't, because I can't. But if I did meet him in person, I would for sure punch him in the nuts. Though either way, this story is from Redditor No Sketteepsome9, who was on holiday and decided to jump on Tinder to see who was around. I didn't realize how common meeting people from Tinder on holiday was. Like, I would just want to enjoy my holiday and go sightseeing. I could not care less about going on Tinder dates or getting laid. Anyway, the user matched with this guy and they spoke for a few days, and the day before she left, they decided to meet. They hung out at his place because he told her that he too was traveling the next day, and so he had to be home and pack, but that she could keep him company. Guys, no, never go to a private place for your first date, especially if you haven't met the person and you're in a foreign country. Major no. Listen to mommy, amen. Either way, they start making out and end up having sex, which the girl is hesitant about, but is also like, okay, I'm on holiday, I'm never gonna see him again, it's fine. They're getting it on the couch, and she turns to the side to see that his laptop's green light is on, meaning it's recording. She quickly ends that and the police were this close to being involved. Can you see this? My hands are basically touching. My fingers are touching. They are, this close. Can you bloody imagine, like, who does that? I would have called the police straight up, I don't even care. Scumbag, girl or guy alike, anyone who does this, shame on you. But also, I didn't want to include this camera story in the list because I feel like so many people have heard it, but also, I need to bring attention to where it's due. These things happen. You know what I mean? Trust no one, not even yourself. And number 4 is Dexter. If you haven't seen the show Dexter, it's basically about this dude who is a forensic technician specializing in blood splatter analysis by day, and he's a serial killer by night. And this Tinder horror story gave me major Dexter vibes, but then I did more research on it, and turns out there's not enough evidence surrounding the story. Now initially I took it as fact and that the people involved wanted to remain anonymous, but this story is a bit of a Tinder urban legend that gets shared frequently with a few details changed here and there. So here goes. A 20-year-old girl moved to Boston to start her graduate program, and luckily enough her aunt was going to Europe, so she offered the girl her place to stay in. A few days after she moves in, she starts hearing weird noises, but the house is also quite old, so she kind of just assumes the noises were because of that fact. She asks her dad to make sure, and he reassures her, but also tells her to call the police to come and just to check just to be sure. Always better safe than sorry, 100% you guys, always listen to your dad. Either way, she calls the police and emphasizes that she's most likely being paranoid and that it's nothing. The police then ask if she's home alone, to which she says yes. They then tell her an officer will be there in 40 minutes just to check things out, but everything should be fine. 3 minutes later, the police show up and shocking discoveries are made. Not only was there a man in this girl's basement, he had a complicated tool set of torture and dismemberment devices, and the man was someone the girl had been on a Tinder date with. The date was super average, but after dropping her home, the guy realized she lived alone. Target locked. The police told her they'd be there in 40 minutes because they realized someone was listening in on the call and they wanted to take the person by surprise. I've also heard variations of this story as well. I'm pretty sure this one is true, but I'm like, heebie-jeebies. Filling at number 3 slot is poop. I really did not think people had this many issues with their bowel movements, especially on Tinder dates, but apparently they do. I know nervous are a thing. I've never had to nervously I think. I was like, I do tend to use the bathroom frequently. I just have a high metabolism, yet I'm still fat, so it doesn't really make sense. Now, I've heard so many poop stories, it's bloody ridiculous. It's obviously the most popular one where a woman went on a date and the date slipped laxatives into her drink or food. She herself, and while cleaning up in the bathroom, her date then rubs all over himself. Have you people no self-control? Like, I know that one was a fetish, but you are foul, mate. Another version was shared by Redditor Josh T-Bone, who said he went on a date with this guy off Tinder and things are going well. He finally leaned in to kiss the user, and a few seconds later he pulled away saying it feels really warm in my underwear for some reason. The user started getting whiffs of what could only be described as a baby's diaper. The date runs to the bathroom and turns out he had herself mid-kiss and goes commando for the rest of the night. Like, I'm curious, if that happened to your date, would you just end it there and never see them again? Would you continue the night? How do you even react? Why? What would lead someone to mid-kiss? It's beyond me. Now, at number 2 is not being interested. Some people simply don't get when someone isn't interested in them. Their narcissistic brains can't fathom how someone else wouldn't want them. Or sometimes they're just naive and really like you and are holding out hope, which is kind of cute. And when I was on Tinder and someone was laying it on too strong and I wasn't interested, I would also ghost them, or at least be like, hey, you know, look, we're looking for different things. You know? Goodbye. It's such a huge thing on Tinder, but this story from 26-year-old Tash sums it up pretty well. She shared that on her first Tinder date, she was way too polite. Firstly, the dude had lied about his height and was actually 2 inches shorter than her, but they got on just fine, so she was like, it's okay, it's fine. She stayed on the date to be polite, but he took politeness for her undying love and said they should be in a relationship straight away. She laughed it off, and an hour later he said they should get married and have kids. He ended up taking Tash home, and after 2 days of texting her non-stop and her barely responding, she finally built up the to tell him she wasn't interested. Cause you don't want to hurt the person, it's such a sensitive subject, like no one's out here trying to hurt the other person unless of course you're a player or a boy. The next day he showed up to her house for a cinema date, clearly not understanding or believing she wasn't interested. This cutie actually responded saying he wouldn't give up on their love and that he would fight for her. After just one Tinder date. Is that not so cute? Like, yes, it's very delusional, but like, what a little bean, you know? And finally, at number 1 is the meal. This one comes from Redditor LTeenso, who said this was her friend's story. Now, her friend's favorite waitress, I didn't even know people had favorite waitresses. Either way, her friend's favorite waitress, who she dubbed Delia, suddenly stopped working at the restaurant for a few weeks and no one was told why. When she came back to work, the friend asked her where she'd been and she was like, they didn't tell you? Apparently, a month prior, Delia had matched with this cute guy on Tinder and they even FaceTimed before meeting just to make sure it was legit and he wasn't a creep. She got to his house and he went all out cooking for her. I'm talking meatballs, pies, anything, you name it, it was there. Delia ate it all happily. The date ended fine, but she started feeling super sick shortly after. As soon as she got home, she started throwing up uncontrollably, and then that turned to her throwing up blood. She called the police, who told her to go to the ER and that they'd meet her there. This I find kind of sus, because if you're throwing up blood, why would you call the police before calling an ambulance, you know what I mean? Just a bit, something's not making sense. Either way, she was sick in the ER for 2 days, and when she was finally able to talk, the police asked her everywhere she'd been, with who, when, and what she had eaten. She mentioned she works at the restaurant, but the police had already checked there. She then remembered the Tinder days and told them his name and address, confused. She asked what the problem was, and the police replied that she had consumed human flesh. By the time the police got to his place, he was nowhere to be found, and turns out it was an Airbnb that he'd rented out on a stolen credit card, and the number he had was from a burner phone. This is actually a completely true story, and the man is still active somewhere in LA, so if you're in LA and you're on Tinder, please beware of this man. The reason Delia was throwing up blood is because she was eating embalmed human flesh. God knows where this guy got that from, but I don't want to find out.